Hello, everybody. My name is Kyle McGuire, and I'm a current master's student at University of Rhode Island, of course, with focusing on Masters of Environmental Management with two certificates, one of which I've just recently completed that was in fisheries science, and then this next one coming up in the fall is going to be on GIS and geospatial technologies. So right now, I am currently working at an engineering company. I've been there for just about over a year. I graduated with my undergraduate from University of Massachusetts Dartmouth in biology. At the time, while I was in my undergraduate degree, I was working part-time as a in a restaurant as a bartender and a server, but I was also working as a personal care attendant for somebody who had developmental disabilities. They were sort of getting towards late stage dementia, and they had Down syndrome, and I was really close with them. But point being is I was trying to make up my mind as to whether or not I wanted to go the healthcare, nursing route, or kind of take some time and figure out what it is I really, really wanted to do, which is the environmental route. So I ended up teaching actually for a couple of years in Rhode Island, teaching high school biology in Providence. And then while, one summer, actually, summer before this one, I was sitting there and really kind of made up my mind that I wanted to pursue my master's and decided on URI and enrolled, and here I am. So I ended up taking a little bit of a change of course and change of action and found a company in the private sector that was willing to take me on and help me transition in a total different career path. Obviously I was just out of school working as a teacher, so I was just starting out my career, but it was a big switch to make, to go from the classroom to out in the field. So right now I'm currently working for an engineering company, like I had said, out of Rhode Island, SW Cole Engineering, and I perform site visits daily, different sites. I do inspections, mostly soil inspections, so mostly testing the ground, um, and bringing back samples to our laboratory, doing various tests on those, and then gaining a lot of experience writing reports, communicating with supervisors, and just making sure certain specifications are met and things are not brushed over or overlooked, and crossing all the T's and dotting all the I's. So I've gained a lot of experience in this past 12 to 13 months I've been with this company, been my current position, um, making this switch and at the same time taking on this new endeavor of my furthering my education. So, a little bit about something that I'm really passionate about, and my aspirations are, of course, the environment. So, I'm very passionate about just wildlife management in general, but also conservation, right? So, having a degree in environmental management, I hope to eventually probably work for some Department of Environmental Management, maybe not Rhode Island. Like I said, I'm originally from Massachusetts, and I currently live about 20 minutes outside of Providence. So I'm really still local to the area, but eventually after graduation in 2027, I'm looking to probably plant my roots elsewhere, maybe somewhere elsewhere in the Northeast, farther north, New Hampshire, Maine. Um, so I'm keeping my options open, and I look to work, whether or not be in the private sector still, or, with an actual, governmental agency of Department of Environmental Management, Department of Conservation, Parks and Rec, National Park Service, Bureau of Land Management, one of them. So something that's particularly interesting about myself, I guess you could say, one of the things that you can see over my shoulders, I love fishing, fly fishing in particular. So I do tie my own flies. That's something that a lot of people find interesting once we start to talk about fishing. So mimicking tiny little bugs and making them out of, feathers and twine and thread, tying them on hooks that are the size of, pinky fingernail or something. So that's something that's pretty interesting about myself. I'm hoping to learn a lot in this course. Public policy has always interested me, particularly how policies get adopted and how well are they actually, I guess you could say, investigated or, you know, not exposed, but how well are they looked through before they're getting adopted, I guess you could say. So something that has always interested me is just the process of actually getting policy put in place, right? Who's writing it, who's signing it, all these things, and who's it going to affect. So for my project, I actually think I'm going to focus on probably the wind farms in Massachusetts. I know we have different agencies and different laws, both in Massachusetts and Rhode Island, focusing on the offshore wind development. But I'm looking to focus particularly on my hometown area, which is New Bedford, Massachusetts, which is still currently the fishing capital of the world, fishing capital of the country. I know that for sure. I think it's top in the world, very certain, but it's definitely the top in the country. And so the offshore wind development going on offshore there in my hometown has been a huge topic of debate in the public community, but also mainly in the fishing community, commercial sector for the last few years. It's been a huge, huge, huge topic of debate. So I'm looking to focus on that for my project. And then really what am I looking to take away from this course is just understanding how all of public policy changes, like I said, get put in place, and then really how do we identify the problem and put the policy in place for that specific problem, right? Because a lot of times I think we see public policies that get put in place that say they're going to span a range of, a range of issues, and we're still left with issues afterwards, you know? Um, so yeah. That's basically a little bit about me and what I'm hoping to learn from this course. The thing that I find most interesting, I'll be honest, about certain public policy, um, it would be pretty hard for me to focus on, I think, in this course for the project. I certainly could, I think I could pull it off, but I'm trying to focus on something that's a little bit more near and dear to home, like I said, with the offshore wind. But something that's really, really interesting to me in public policy is wildlife management in general, especially out in the Midwest. I listen to a lot of different things about it and read a lot of different articles, and the introduction of certain predators to try to control certain prey species. Um, you know, one of the big ones was wolves getting reintroduced into the national parks. Um, so that stuff is extremely interesting to me. One of the things that is thrown around a lot, it's a term you hear it a lot in different, whether it be wildlife podcasts or whatever it is you're listening to, is quote unquote ballot box biology. So when they throw out some policy or some law that people vote on, and the, I guess, science isn't fully understood, you know? So that's something that's very, very interesting to me in terms of public policy. I think one of the main reasons why I chose this course as my elective. Um, so that's a bit about me. I'm looking forward to learning a little bit more about all of you guys and why it is, exactly why you chose this course. And I wish you all the best of luck. Thank you.